If you will, you can turn your Bibles to the book of Psalms chapter 3. Me and Greg were talking on Wednesday night, getting everything together, and we talked about the verse of that song, It Is Well With My Soul, and talking about my sin, not in part, but the whole is nailed to the cross, and I bear it no more. I mean, that just... Every time I sing that, I could jump through the roof. Just, you know what I mean? That's just good stuff. That's them boys that used to write them old songs. They got it right. Not the new songs aren't great because they are, but some of them old songs, just the way they're written, is just really, really good stuff. So Psalm chapter 3, verse 1. This is what it says: Lord, how they have increased who trouble me. Many are they who rise up against me. Many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. And I'm going to stop right there because the psalm changes right after verse 2. It takes a jump from Lord, how many have increased against me, and Lord, how many have risen up against me, and many are those who trouble me, and there is no help for him in God. That's what they say. Many say there is no help for him in God, but right after verse 2, it takes a drastic jump in the other direction, and that has been my life the past 2 weeks. I did not know what I was going to talk about this morning. I didn't know what I was going to present to you this morning, and the Lord made it clear by the things that were going on in my life what I needed to speak about this morning. And you can see my title is A Text Message from God, and I'm going to explain what that means here in just a minute. But I kid you not, I have seen the Lord work directly in front of me this week. He has worked in my life in a huge way, and I was on the phone with my grandmother the other night, and I was telling her, I haven't been this fired up, and I haven't been this enthusiastic and on fire for the Lord in a long time. And so just the fact of God literally working right in front of me and in my life, and I'm going to tell you all about it. But that phrase there in verse 2 that it says, many are they who say of me, there is no help for him in God. How many times have we heard that as Christians? People come to you and say, there's no help in your crazy religion. There's no help in a man that lived 2,000 years ago. There's no help for a man that some people still think is dead, that didn't raise from the dead. There's no help in someone that you can't see. There's no help in someone that when you pray, they don't speak back to you. Well, I'm here to tell you that yes, there is. There's plenty of help. And He will work His help right in front of you if you are open to the idea. God is still at work in our lives. He is still at work in the church. He is still at work in America, and if we are willing and obedient enough to partake in God's actions and partake in God's quest to help us, we can ride on His coattails and ride with Him. But if we're sitting on the sidelines not ready, He's going to blow right by us and we're not going to see Him. So let me tell you a little story. It's a personal one, and I'm going to share something with you here, and I'm going to be pretty honest and open with you. And so I hope that's okay. I hope that you guys are not going to, be freaked out because I'm getting all honest with you. Sometimes honesty is a really hard thing to deal with. But, sometimes people expect God to just pop up right in the middle of our lives and say, hey Nick, I'm right here. Look at me. I'm God and I'm here to help you. But that's not really going to happen. First off, if you just want to speak about it literally, God can't do that because if we looked in His face, we'd die. Because that's what, that's what He tells us. But anyway, God may not be appearing to you face to face and telling you what to do. But if you're in His Word and you're in a constant prayer life and you're in church, God's working in front of you, and if you're open to it, you can see it. 2 weeks ago, I was up at school, and it was on a Wednesday night, I believe. No, well, I can't remember exactly when it was. I thought it was on a Wednesday. It may not have been. But anyway, I was up at school, and I was having a lot of troubles. I was the devil was really getting on to me. He was getting me down and getting me really upset, and I was having all these bad thoughts, and I wrote them down. My first thought was he kept telling me, Nick, you're a terrible youth minister. You are too young. Those kids can't respect you. You're not even that many years older than them. How can they look up to you as someone that they should follow? How can they respect you? What have you ever done? What have you done to earn their trust? What have you done to earn their respect? He was telling me I was a joke. I was a loser. And in my mind, I'm like, you're right. I am all those things. And when the devil gets you down, he can get you down really low, really, really quick. And I was having a huge pity party for myself, and I was getting so discouraged. I was thinking, is everything that I'm doing, is it worth anything? Are all my time and my efforts and every sermon and every lesson that I've taught, are they even listening? Do they care? I was having just these awful thoughts, and I was getting so upset with myself that I was trying to do anything to think about something else. I was trying to think just about anything else, and instead of being the good, holy, spiritual man that I am and saying, Lord, help me, pull me out of this, I went the complete opposite way, and I started having bad, sinful thoughts, lustful thoughts, and anything to get my mind off of that, because it was really upsetting me. Because I'm a prideful person. We all have pride, and my pride was being stepped on by Satan, because I didn't want to hear that. I want people to go, Nick, you're a great youth pastor. Those kids think you're the best thing that ever happened on this earth. They just look up to you. Oh my gosh, they just look up to you so much. That's what I wanted. Is that not true? When you're at your job, whatever, if you're at a factory, I could not get my words out, and all you do is do one job all day, screwing in one thing, you want somebody to come up to you and go, you just do that so well. You are just so good at that job. That's what we desire in our lives, and that's what I was wanting in that point in time, but it wasn't happening. It was not happening. The devil was pushing me in the other way. And like I said, instead of turning to God, instead of saying, Lord, I need you to help me right now, I went the opposite way. And so I was in a dark, dark place. I was having horrible thoughts. And I don't care to admit this to you because it's the truth. Because it's what really happened. Even though I'm called to the ministry, I can sin just as much as anybody. And I was sinning. I was caught in my sin. And before it got too far, I was about to succumb to the temptations of the flesh, and I was in a dark place, and all of a sudden, my phone vibrates. And I'm like, so I pull out my phone and open up a text message from a man that is a family friend of mine, and this is what it said. I'm praying for you, Nick. God bless you and pour out on your head and your heart a peace that can't be explained. And I was like, whoa, talk about perfect timing, right in the nick of time, literally talk about perfect timing. So that, lifted me up big time. I was like, that was great. That was so awesome. And I got confident, and I got confidence in the Lord. And then literally right after that, I got a text message from, this is so fun, from one of my youth, and he needed help with his Bible history homework. And I got to help him. And you have no idea how much that encouraged me, because it was like the Lord saying, see, Nick, that they respect you enough to text you to ask you about these types of things. And so it was just like I was so down and such in a bad place. And then all it took was one person to be obedient to what the Lord was telling him to do and to text me and to tell me he was praying for me. And my night changed drastically. I was in a great place. I was happy. I was high in my spirits with the Lord. And what does verse 2 right say? There is no help for him in God. Whatever. You can listen to that all you want to. There is help for us in God if we're open to it. And if that one guy had not been obedient and sent me that text message, the help would not have come. If he had not been obedient to the Lord, the help would not have come. And so a couple of days later, I'm sitting there again, and kind of the same thing started happening. I'm having another little pity party for myself. I don't care to admit that to you either. I was getting down in another bad spot because I'd been in a conversation that day that I didn't feel confident that I handled it well. And I can't really tell you what it is, but I was in a conversation with a person, and I felt like I did not handle it well at all, and I was beating myself up, and I thought, man, I should have done better in that. I should have handled this so much better, and I could have so much better. And the devil was getting on me, saying, "You are such an idiot. You did that so poorly, and you're worthless." And all this junk was once again getting in my mind, and I did the same thing. Isn't it funny how we do the same things over and over again? Even when I didn't turn to God the first time, and God ends up showing up, and He shows me you should have turned to me in the first place, and I get down again. And instead of saying, "Lord, I need you," I go this way again. And I get down in a bad place. And it's about a week later from this first instance. And I'm getting down in a bad place, and I'm having all these temptations, and I'm having all these dark, bad thoughts. The devil is in my mind. I'm bound by my sin, and I'm in this huge, mess, and all of a sudden, and I'm like, somebody texts me. So I pull out my phone, and it's the same guy that texted me a week ago. And he texts me again, and he says, "I'm praying for you, and I love you." Coincidence? I think not. Like, what? How can this guy know? Is he sitting out my dorm window going, Nick's looking a little down, I better text him? No! He's not doing that. He's at home. He has no idea what I'm going through in my life. But yet 2 weeks in a row, exactly when I needed him to text me, he did. But here's the deal. I may be getting a little, out of line. I don't know. But was that really him texting me? Or was that a text message from God? And I mean that sincerely. That was God speaking to me through him. That was God speaking directly through me, through him in a text message. I firmly believe that was God texting me and saying, "Nick, I love you. I want to bless you. I want to pour a peace out on your head and your heart that can't be explained. Nick," the second time, "Nick, I love you. I'm here for you." That was God working through him to speak to me. And what does verse 2 say? There is no help for him in God? Whatever. There is help for us in God. And let's go on to verse 3 and shift the other way. "But you, O Lord, you are a shield for me. You're my glory and the one who lifts up my head. And I cried to the Lord with my voice, and he heard me from his holy hill. I laid down and slept and awoke, for the Lord sustained me. I will not be afraid of 10,000s of people who have set themselves against me all around." The Lord sustained me in those moments when I needed him most. That guy texted me. He wasn't sustaining me. He was just being obedient to the Lord. The Lord was working through him to help me. And in Romans 8:31, it tells us that if God's for us, then who can be against us? And so no matter what you're going through in your life, no matter how much in your sin you think that you are, if God's for us, who can be against us? No matter how down you are, if God's for us, who can be against us? No matter what's going on in your life, no matter who says there's no help for you. You can't do this. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't come back from something like that. You can't turn your life around. You can't repent of all the horrible things you've ever done and turn to God. But you, O Lord, you're a shield for us. You're our glory and the one who lifts up our head. He's the one that when we're down in that sin, he's the one that bends down and he grabs us and he lifts up our head and says, "I love you. I want to pull you up out of this. I love you so much, I'm willing to send you a text message." He cares about us. He wants to work in our lives. He made me so happy when those two text messages came through. The joy when I got those two text messages. I called Dad And I told him, I was like, you ain't going to believe what happened. Like, you are not going to believe what happened. And that coincidence line, I stole it from him, because the second I told him, he said, coincidence? I don't think so. You know, I mean, that's exactly what he said. I mean, that was the Lord working in my life. And let's go back to verse 3 there, just one more time. It's this drastic change in the writing. And David's writing this, but, you know, Paul does the same thing in Romans, I believe it's Romans 3, when he's writing and he's talking about all these bad things that you can do and all this sin and all these things that you can be caught up in. But then in my Bible, it's so cool. As you turn the page in my Bible, it says, but now there is righteousness in the Lord. And he goes into this huge discourse about God coming to save us and Christ being the ultimate sacrifice. And it's this great verses in Romans. I can't remember the exact verses right now, but I believe it's in Romans 3. But it's this drastic change in the writing. It's sin and awful and bad. And then you turn the page in 2 words, but now we have Jesus. Now we have redemption. Now we have hope in God. And it's the same thing here when it says in verse 2, there's no help for him in God. Verse 3 says, but you, it's a change. But you, O Lord, you are a shield for us. God is our shield. He's the one that's going to stand in front of us and guide us and protect us because He loves us. We talked about it's ironic. We talked about it this morning in the youth Sunday school in John chapter 8 when the woman in adultery is brought before Christ. You know, I firmly believe with all of my heart that if they'd have picked up the rocks and started to try to throw at her, Jesus would have stepped in between them and said, "Nuh-uh, you're not doing that. I'll stand in the gap. I'll stand in between. I won't let you hit her. I'm willing to protect her. I'm willing to take the pain. I'm willing to take the hurt." That's Jesus. He's our shield. He's our glory. He's the one that brings joy. He's the one that brings happiness into our lives. And it could be in the form of a text message. I don't know if God's got Sprint or Verizon, but He's got a good reception to send it right in the nick of time, just like He did. And then it goes on to say He's the one who lifts up our head. And that's exactly what He did for me in that moment. I mean, I was down in such a bad place, and He came down to my level. He came down to where I was, and He pulled me up out of it with 2 simple text messages. And you know what? Those text messages probably weren't the only things He was doing. He's probably doing other things, and I just wasn't open enough to see it. He was probably working in my life in other ways, and I just wasn't being obedient enough to see it. I wasn't willing to see it. So I wonder how many ways in all of our lives is He working and we're just not seeing it. I'm not saying that when you get down, the next time you get down, your phone's going to go vert, 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 and it's going to be God on the other end saying, "Hey, I'm here for you." That's not what I'm saying. He may do it. He may work that way, but He blessed me with a very big blessing this week and gave me that stuff. And gave me those 2 text messages. He gave me the other text messages from one of my youth. And then to top it all off, that final night after that second instance, and the second text message from that other guy, a couple hours later, I'm sitting in my room and I was watching TV and doing homework at the same time. Yeah, I know, it's probably not a good idea. But I get another text message. I mean, the Lord was working through my phone this week. I mean, He was in a big way. I get another text message from another guy that I go to school with, and he asked me. He said, "Hey, man, I've been struggling in my walk with the Lord, and I want to talk to you about it." Now, me and this guy, we know each other, and we're pretty good friends. But we've never talked about the Lord. And we've never talked about that kind of stuff. But he texts me out of nowhere and just says, "Hey, I'm struggling and I want to talk to you about it." I mean, how many times does it take to hit me in the side of the head with the Lord? The Lord saying, "Look, I can use you. Look, you're worth something. You can help me. And I can help you if you'll just be obedient enough to listen and to see what I'm doing in your life." He has made me glad this week. The Lord has made me glad. And there's a song that one of my favorite songs, this is what it says. He has made me glad, and I'll say of the Lord, He is my shield, He is my strength, He's my portion, my deliverer, my shelter, and my strong tower. He's my ever-present help in my time of need. Yeah, that's good stuff. Amen. I mean, He's my favorite. He's our portion. He's exactly what we need, exactly when we need it. He's not too much. He's not too little. He's exactly what we need at the exact time that we need it. So, if Greg and Vicki, if you want to come up here, I want to have a time of invitation. But I want to talk to you a little bit more here as Vicki begins to play here. I want to ask you a question. You know, how long has it been since you got a text message from God? How long has it been since the Lord has worked in your life? Probably not too long. You're just not open enough to see it. How long has it been since, this is straight from Craig, he told me that, how long has it been since you got a text message from God? Here's God's text, and the message is in there. All you got to do is read it. There's God's text message for you. Read it. And if you're wondering, why isn't the Lord working in my life? If you're sitting there thinking, why is He not helping me? Why isn't He pulling me out of whatever I'm caught in? My opinion, it's not the lack of effort on His side. It's the lack of effort on our side. And it's the lack of obedience. And it's the lack of our eyes being open to what He's doing in our lives. And it's the lack of us being willing to participate in the great plans that He's got in store for us. It's us. It's on us. It's not on Him. He's doing His part. And every covenant that God ever made in the Bible, did He break them? No. He keeps His word. God keeps His word. He's always there for us. He'll never leave us. He'll never forsake us. But if you're stuck in something right now, if you're stuck in a sin, if you're stuck in a way of life, if you're stuck in this dark, dark place in your life and you think, I'm working so hard to overcome this, why can't I pull myself out of it? It's because you will never overcome it. You cannot pull yourself out of whatever it is that you're stuck in. There's only one. And it's Jesus. There's only one that can reach down in the sin and in the dirt and the muck and lift you out of that and make you as white as snow. And He's the only one. You have to turn to Him. You cannot defeat Satan. You cannot defeat those temptations. If I had not got those text messages, I would have kept going down in a darker and darker and a darker place. No matter how holy I'm supposed to be as a youth minister, even I can't defeat it. Craig can't defeat it. Greg can't defeat it. Your leaders can't defeat temptation. We have to have the Lord. We have to rely on the Lord. He's the only one that is strong enough to pull us up out of it. And He's still at work in our lives. Amen. He has worked in my life this week, and I guarantee you He's working in yours. You just have to be open enough to see it. And He may not text you like He did me. Me and Him are pretty tight. He may not text you. I'm just kidding. He may not text you like He did with me. But like I was saying earlier, His Word, that's His message for you. You want to get a text from God? Read His Word. You want to get a word from God? Spend time in prayer with Him. You want to get a word from God? You're doing it right. You're sitting in church. That's the best place to be on a Sunday morning. You want to get a word from God? You want to see God work in your life? How's your quiet time? How's your prayer life? How's your church life? There's your answers. All of that hinges on whether or not we give Him the chance to work in our lives. So I want to challenge you here. I know we've been playing, but I want to challenge you. If that man had not been obedient and texted me, I would not have got the blessing that I got. God was working, but He had to work through him first, and then He would work through me. I want to challenge you. He had to text me twice. He had to be obedient twice. I would not have got that blessing from the Lord if He hadn't texted me twice. So if God's asking you to do something, no matter how small it is, if you feel like you need to send somebody a text message and say, hey, I'm praying for you, please do it.
for a great eating experience? Then you need to come over to Twisters. Twisters is a locally owned diner that simply has it all. From salads to burgers, blue plate specials, and a terrific kids menu, Twisters is sure to please any member of your family. Twisters also has the best ice cream you'll find. From a simple cone to specialty sundaes, Mayfield soft serve is a treat anytime. Dine in or just drive through. Twisters is an experience you don't want to miss, whether you're looking for a great meal or just to satisfy that sweet tooth. Twisters Diner, just a good place